Hi guys, welcome back to another Nerd Rants video. Today we are doing part 6 of childhood favorites, and again I know I promised to do Phineas and Ferb, but I keep finding old shows that I used to watch and then I rewatch them and suddenly I need to do a video about them. So eventually I'll get there. I'm not going to promise anything after this because I don't know, I might end up watching Danny Phantom or something and feeling the need to do a video about that, but this time, we are doing Generator Rex. This is... it's not... I feel like it's not a super well-known show. It got canceled after season 3. Which is super sad. It's made by the same people who did Ben 10 and all of those series, and it's just such a great show. Like, the people behind these two shows are very creative when it comes to just the concept of the story. For Ben 10, it's like, let's just have a watch that can turn the wearer into a bunch of different aliens. And in this one, it's let's make a worldwide accident that just infuses every living thing with microscopic robots. It's so good! Just the concept of these nanites and how they are integrated into society, and it's almost like imperceptible except when it affects certain people or things differently and they mutate into monsters, uncontrollable feral monsters, and it's so good. Because again, they're very creative with how each of the monsters are called Evos, how they look and what they can do, and it's so cool. And Rex is awesome. Okay. Rex being able to control his nanites to create machines that allow him to fight Evos, and then him being this special Evo, and he can cure the other Evos and, well, most of the other Evos, and it's just such a great setup, and bringing in the amnesia, so like he doesn't have any idea who he is, how he got the nanites, why he's different, any of that, which is just another layer. There's layers to the story, and all of them are so great. And Providence as like a government-ish company, I don't know, a government operation that's just going out and handling the Evos, and just they have such whole world and characters and stories like built up within our own, and it's very cool. So yes, Rex is great. His best friend, it's just Ben. I feel like it's Ben, but I also feel like it's not Ben. I'm pretty sure it's Ben. If I am wrong, apologize. But yeah, his best friend is great, and their dynamic of just, they get to be two idiotic teenage boys together, which is something that Rex hasn't had for as long as he can remember, because he loses memory right before Providence finds him and brings him into that and discover his ability, and they use him to cure other Evos, and it's so yes, Ben is a great character. Bobo is Bobo. He is just the talking monkey who is the worst influence, and oh, he's kind of amazing. But favorite characters by far are absolute favorite, Six. Six is the best character in that entire show. Fight me. He's so great. Because he's literally the 6th deadliest person on the planet. And he's essentially Rex's dad. Like, he's his dad. He's straight up his dad. And even though technically speaking, he's not, but in every other sense of the word, he is straight up a father figure. And it's so great. Their relationship is the best. Oh, 6 is amazing. He's just that great, mysterious, uses swords instead of guns, and so you come into this without knowing any of his backstory. It's just like, oh, cool, the leader of this Providence team, where they're like a green, just straight up a green tux, instead of all of the uniforms that the other Providence agents use. And then all of a sudden he goes into the fight, it's like, oh, he's got swords! He uses swords! And he's just jumping around doing karate and all that. And then we find out that his swords are magnetic when he puts them together. They call them magna blades or whatever. But he can just like move things with his swords. 6 is amazing. I love 6 so much. just literally the best character. Absolute best. Even after he loses 6 years of memory, when they're trying to restore Rex's memory, but he, being protective Papa Bear, goes in when things start to go wrong and ends up mind wiping him. So 6 years. And one, we get to see what he was like before he joined Providence, before he met Rex, and they excuse me, got into a relationship, and Rex changed him, and so we get him before basically we get a flash to before all of his character development, which we didn't get to see that character development. We just started with that. And so we get a flashback to before any development, and then seeing him sort of go through that same development again, which is great. But yeah, and he's my favorite. Also, Dr. Holiday is fantastic. I love Dr. Holiday. She's... Alright. The group is straight up found family. 6 is definitely father figure in the sense. Holiday is totally the mama bear. Rex is the teenager, obviously. Just the rebellious, I can overpower, and so thinks he can do everything on his own teenager. And Bubba is like the weird uncle. That's how their family dynamic is set up, because they are a family. I don't care what anyone says. They are the definition of found family, and it's great. Also, we got the slow burn between Holiday and 6, where it's like, just shut up and this already. Just do it. You're obviously gonna be a thing. You're obviously like each other. Just shut up and do it. And then if they finally do, and then 6 forgets everything, and we start over, and it's like, why? Why can't we just have this? But yes. Finn's Van Kleis is so cool. So he literally was at the epicenter of the accident. So he was at one of the scientists at the epicenter of the accident. So he gets like obliterated, but is also infused with nanites from the area, which is called Abyssus, and so he just draws nanites from everywhere and stays alive and has the ability to feed, I guess, off of the other living things nanites. And he's so cool, and he's basically the overarching villain of the first, all but the last season. And technically, he sort of is the overarching villain in the last season too, because he plays the insane card, but really isn't, and he's doing this so that he can become all powerful. So technically, he is just the villain for the entire series, and it's so great. Because he just keeps coming back. He's like, why can't you just die? You're horrible, but you're also so cool. Oh man, and his pack, they're all really cool members. Like Biowolf is like just straight up a cybernetic wolf. It looks like this big humanoid, like werewolf essentially, but cyborg style. Crap, I don't remember the lizard's name that can shoot crystals, but he's kind of cool. And Circe, Rex's love interest. She's also very cool. So Evo, obviously, and she kind of has Black Canary powers. She kind of has a canary cry, but like her whole mouth transforms when she uses her power into this cool, like, monstrous mouth, and then and that's how she uses her power, but otherwise she looks normal, and it's just, she's a very interesting character. I mean, I don't know if I ever rooted for anyone being with Rex, but I was definitely very meh about any kind of romance with Rex. But she's a very cool character, and I think of any of the characters that would have ended up with him, she's probably the best option. But anyway, yeah. She's just very cool. Excuse me. There's so many things, but Black Knight. Black Knight is like the face villain, the overarching villain until the end of the season. We find out that Franklin really isn't actually insane and is playing everyone. But Black Knight is very cool. She's just super. She's good at like being this villain, but in the most like borderline sense, because what she is doing and trying to do, you wouldn't necessarily see as bad, but like, and you see that throughout, like, people are accepting what she's doing and whatever else, because she has developed collars that can control Evos. And so, like, make them docile, whatever else, because Rex disappeared for 6 months. And so they had to find an alternative way to deal with Evos because they didn't have a way to cure them. And so they come up with a way to control them. And so everyone's accepting this throughout the season, and then when collars go down, it causes problems in one of the episodes. And just... she really is just the most borderline villain until you get to the end of the season, and she starts, like, getting obsessed with this main goal of finding the meta nanites, which essentially, when combined, there's 5, and when they combine, you have godlike powers, because you can control all the nanites, which are in every single living thing. So yeah. At first you don't see that side of her character until they find the first meta nanite and start realizing, oh, this is what they're after. This is really what she's trying to do. She really is this villain, and so then they figure it out, and so then she's less secretive about that. And then you see more of the villainous side of her. But right at the beginning, you're just like, oh, she's not necessarily trying to do anything bad, but it's just the most unsettling thing seeing them control the Evos and just with the colors and everything. You're just like, oh, this is just like really uncomfortable. Like, this makes me feel weird, which is the point. And then so it's just like, oh, this is like a good thing, but it's really weird. And then at the end of the episode, that first episode, when Rex goes, yeah, I don't really want to be a part of this. Like, this is a little too much for me. Like, I don't see this as right. Because he himself is an Evo, and he knows Circe, a human who is an Evo. Like, a human Evo who is, like, in control of herself. And he has friends from one of his past lives he can't remember, who are all very in control of their minds, but are Evos. And so he's like, okay, no, I don't want to be a part of this. I know people like who are Evos like me, and this is a threat to us. And so he then tries to leave, and then they try to control him, and you go, oh no, this really is a horrible thing. And so 6 Holiday, White Knight, Rex, and Bobo have split off from Providence because Black Knight basically did hostile takeover and took over Providence. And they formed their own team to deal with Evos the way they see fit. And so they're at odds the whole season, and it's so great. But yes, it's so good. The only thing I wish they had used more, and I know they didn't bring it in until one of the last episodes for shock factor, is that Black Knight is like Rex, so she can control control her nanites and build machines with them. And they bring that in once, essentially. I guess they bring it in throughout the season, but they disguise it, which is, yes, obviously, she's going to disguise it. But when they reveal it, she doesn't really use it that much after that. So, and maybe they would have used that all more later in the seasons if they had been allowed to keep going. But yeah, that was the only thing where I'm like, oh, it's a little disappointing that we don't get to see more of her power, I guess. Because we mostly just see her make her little energy whip thing, and then she disguises it with a gauntlet or something over her hand, so it, or whatever. But she makes it look like it's not her actual arm. Anyway, yeah, only thing I wish they had used more of. Breach. She's technically a villain, but she's also very much a back and forth character because she has a crush on Rex, because there are like 3 or 4, potentially 5, or whatever, 5. There's a lot of girls brought in that have some sort of interest in Rex, and it's just like, whatever. Don't even care at this point. But Breach is awesome. She's a part of the pack, which is Van Kleiss's group of Evos. She makes interdimensional portals. It's so good. She jumps all over the world. She has a pocket dimension where she put an entire town and then just drops all the things that she likes. And we get into, she's got some sort of trauma, and so she has this pocket dimension where she can control everything and have it exactly how she wants, because she can't do that with the rest of the world. And so it's, she is a very intriguing character, and we don't get to dive all the way into all of that with her, but it's so good. And then she freaking dies before we get the chance to learn any more about her, but she dies redeemed because she stops Van Kleiss and like sends him centuries back in time, because he finds a way to amplify her abilities, and so then she can send things across time instead of just space. But yes, she's such a cool character. like her design. She's got like four arms, the two big arms and the two smaller arms, and just she's probably one of the coolest villains. One of the coolest characters. Side characters, I guess. The coolest character will always be Six. Anyway, yeah, it's just, the show was so good. It was so good. Designs for all the different evos, the different powers that they had, the characters were great, the animation was beautiful, and on top of all of that, we also get a crossover episode with Ben 10. It's so great. It's so good. Because they cross dimensions. Because we know interdimensional travel is a thing in both worlds. But they cross dimensions fighting this alpha nanite, which is kind of like the meta nanites, but less powerful. It was basically a mechanical solution to controlling the nanites. And it went haywire, obviously. It's AI, so it gained its own persona and went power hungry and is going after all the nanites. And so it shows up because it's in Ben 10's universe called the Null Void. So it escapes that into Ben's world, and then by, I guess I'm missing nanites or whatever, it ends up back in Rex's world, and so they have to team up and fight it, and just seeing those two interact, it's something. Because we have, I think it's Alien Force. It's definitely Alien Force. Actually, no, it'd be Ultimate Alien Ben, because they're figuring out, it's like, oh, we're in different dimensions, because he's trying to, like, get everyone like, hey, I've been 10, but nobody knows who the heck he is. So it's Ultimate Alien Ben, who, is such an arrogant douche sometimes. And then we have Rex, who is also a little bit of an arrogant douche, and very competitive. And so they have such a rocky back and forth start. And then eventually them teaming up, like, realizing, we're not so different. You're cool. And teaming up. And just, it's one of the greatest team-ups, because Ben turns into Upgrade. And just goes onto Rex to upgrade all of his nanites and his machines that he built. And it's so great. Like, it's so clever. And it's awesome. But it was such a fun crossover. Oh, and Cesar is Rex's brother. I have such a love-hate relationship with Cesar. Because there are moments when he's this great brother, and he's like, okay, that's cool, that's great. And then you have the moments where he's like, I'm gonna follow Black Knight's orders, and I'm gonna try and mind control my brother. Or I have this secret that if I told Rex, it'd probably explain everything, but every time I get an opportunity, I'm not gonna tell him until literally the end of the series, when I have to. And he's very annoying sometimes, because would you just tell him things. Tell Rex things. Explain things to Rex so that he understands what you're doing, so that he doesn't hate your guts, so things can actually go the way you want them to. Because the leaders of Providence, I guess the funders of Providence, are attempting to become essentially gods by getting the powers of the meta-nanites. And the first time they try and do this, it gets screwed up because Rex tries to resist it, because Cesar doesn't tell him everything. And it's like, Cesar, this could have been so easily avoided if you had just told him the freaking truth. Yeah! But Cesar's aggravating personality aside, he's still a great character. We still like Cesar most of the time. Oh gosh. But yes, this show is so great. And I had such random, vivid memories about watching it. Like, I remembered Boa very, very vividly. And I remembered Rex and his machines very, very vividly. But I remembered pretty much nothing else. And so it's fun to have that and then be able to go into a show essentially like you're watching it for the first time again. Knowing in advance you'll like it. Just all I really do is like, oh, that was a good show. And remembering little things and then going into it and essentially going, I don't remember really much about this. All I remember is I liked the show. It was a good show. So you can just sit back and enjoy it and not see it, not know any of the plot twists or anything that are coming. It's so fun. Oh man. But yes, this is such a great show. It's an amazing show. I love it so much. If you haven't watched it, watch it. I'm sorry I spoiled things. But if you have watched it, if you're part of the fairly small Generator Rex fandom, comment. We need to gotta find our people, right? But yes, it was just such a fun show. And the people who created this and Ben 10, I think it's Man of Action or whatever, so creative, and I love the worlds and the plots and the stories and the characters that they create, and it's just so great. But yeah, Generator X, it's so good. It's a masterpiece. Anyway, drop your thoughts and recommendations in the comments, and I'll see you all next time.